How has it been touring with Finding Neverland?
It's been great. It's been a while since I've been on tour, so I was excited. There are a couple of cities on this tour that I haven't performed in, so that was really exciting. It's been good. I've never been on the road with kids and dogs and things like that, so it's definitely a new experience for me. But the group that we're traveling with is great, and we're having a really good time.
And would you mind telling us about the role you play?
So I play Sylvia Llewyn Davies, who is the widowed mother of 4 boys who Jay and Barry meets in Kensington Gardens and kind of strikes up a friendship with her and her 4 boys. And through that friendship and his relationship with the boys, he is inspired to write the story of Peter Pan. In our show, you learn all of the characters that are based off of real people that he's, kind of created this fantasy story around.
And of course, the story of Peter Pan has been around for years. A great thing about this musical is that people get to learn how it came about.
Yes, people I think expect to just come to our show and see Peter Pan on stage, which we do have that aspect of it, but it's really more about what inspired Jay and Barry to write that story and the relationships he developed with Sylvia and her sons that kind of got him out of his writer's block. And really, he was the first person to write a story for the stage that was for children and about children. It was not something that anyone did at that time, and that's not really what he was writing before that. And so it was sort of groundbreaking in that way. You learn a lot about the people that inspired him to do that and about his life and her struggles and how they really helped each other through difficult times. And, now Peter Pan is being told everywhere in different ways. It's constantly being remade. They're constantly using that concept of being a kid forever, even today.
What was it like getting to work with your director, Diane, Paulus?
She's great. I've always wanted to work with her. I've loved every production that I've seen of hers. They call her the green thumb of Broadway. Basically everything she touches turns to gold. And so it was really cool to get the opportunity, especially in a first national tour like this, where we were kind of changing some things about the Broadway production to suit our tour a little bit better. And so we really got to kind of work from the ground up with each other on this character and just on the changes in the show. The pictures that she's able to come up with. Her visual mind is incredible.
I saw that you studied musical theater at the Hart School in Connecticut. A friend of mine actually did as well. She graduated there last year.
Oh, cool.
So what was your experience like?
I loved the Hart School. It was a great school for me because it was still a relatively new program when I got there. So I think that the people that ended up going there were kind of like the misfit musical theater students who loved theater but kind of were still trying to find their place. And I definitely fell into that category. And so I feel like I was in a class of people that I could learn something from every single person in my class because nobody was like each other. There was no kind of rhyme or reason to like why we were all there, which was really cool. And the teachers there, I think, really get to know you on a very personal level and try to hone your craft in a way that works for you. It's not just like, this is how you need to sing this style and this is how you need to dance this way. Like, they're very in tune with what you do well and what you need to work on. And I think that at the end of my 4 years there, I got a really well-rounded education and felt still like I was bringing something unique into the room. I didn't feel like anyone tried to take something away from kind of who I am, which sometimes can happen, like in bigger schools. And so I thought that part was really cool. I'm still really close with a lot of my teachers. They really try to, form relationships and get you ready for the professional world and also really make it about your specific journey as opposed to if you do A and B, C will happen. And it's just, that's not the way that the business works. And I thought that the school really prepared me for that.
Of course, one of your most recent credits was playing Elphaba in Wicked. What was it like living with that character?
It had been a dream role of mine really since I heard the music when I was in college, and I went to my voice teacher and said, I want to learn how to sing this way and sustain my voice this way so I can play this role. And so to be able to do it, I'm super grateful that I started in the ensemble understudying because it's such a huge role that I was grateful that I got to go on a couple of times before having to deal with the pressure of doing it 8 shows a week all the time, because I feel like by the time I got to play it, I was in a much more grounded place and kind of able to do it with less stress than I think if I had just played it right away, because it's just so much. You never leave the stage and you have a million 11 o'clock numbers and it's a beast of a role. Living with that character was difficult in times. I was really tired and I was really sore. My voice was tired, but she is so fun to play, which is a big reason why I feel like I can continue to go back to that show. It never gets boring. There's always something that I can change about playing the character. Something's happening happened in my life that makes a certain part of that show feel different. And I think that having so much material to work with is really helpful in that way.
From what I'm aware, several actresses who've played the role before have often had nightmares centering around the role. Has that happened to you?
I haven't really had nightmares about it, but one of my nightmares actually came true. I had not been in the show for about 7 months. I was sitting on my couch in New York City watching TV, and I got a call from my stage manager on Broadway that said, "So everybody is sick. Are you doing anything tonight? And would you come in and play Elphaba on Broadway for the rest of the weekend, starting tonight?" And I was like, sure. And without even having rehearsed it again, there was no time. And it was also a completely different cast. I hadn't done the show with any of these people before. I went to the theater. I went up to the rehearsal space that I had there and sort of looked around, and I was like, I feel like this is just going to come back to me. I'm going to know what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden I was painted green, and I was on Broadway again doing this huge role with a bunch of entirely new cast that I had never done it with. And, it happens. I mean, I went through it, and everybody was super supportive, and it was the craziest thing that has ever happened in my career, but it was so much fun to kind of revisit it in such a crazy way.
I also recall that during your time in Wicked, which I definitely remember this because I was at a viewing party on the stage of DPAC almost 3 years ago, that you, along with your co-star at the time, Ginny Barber, got to perform for good on the Tony Awards.
It was right after they had celebrated the 10-year anniversary, and we both got the phone call that they wanted to do something on the Tony Awards. I had never performed on the Tony Awards before. I had never been with the show from the ground up sort of thing. So to be able to do that in such an exposed number with the two of us, it was incredible. You have to film it in the morning just in case something goes wrong in the live performance. So you get up really, really early, and you get painted green, and you put on the costume, and then you run through the whole performance at like 6:30 in the morning, and then you take a nap, and you do your matinee, you do your show, and then you get ready again and wait in your theater until basically about like 20 minutes before you're supposed to perform, and they bus you over to Radio City, in our costumes and in the green and everything, and we walked right backstage, and pretty much, 5 minutes after that we were on stage performing it. So it's a crazy day. It made me realize how completely insane it must be for people who are nominated, what their day must be like, and having to get up that early and do the performance and then do the show and then have the stress of being nominated for things and then performing. It's an intense day. It gave me a lot of perspective and even more respect for those performers who have to deal with all of that pressure. At least I only had to do like the one song, and our show wasn't nominated. I wasn't nominated. It was like just celebrating the show. That was much less pressure than I would imagine that most people who are on the Tony Awards have to deal with.
Well, hey, got practice somewhere.
Yeah.
So what are some dream roles you'd love to pursue in the future? I saw you tweeted about one last night.
Yeah, I want to play Lydia in the Beetlejuice musical. That would be awesome. I've always wanted to play Louise and Gypsy, who turns into Gypsy Rose Lee. That's definitely something that I've wanted to do. I've wanted to play Viola in Twelfth Night. I would love to do a play. That would be really, really awesome for me. There are so many, I'm sure, if I really think about it, but those are the ones that really jump out to me. I would love to create a role in a new musical. Gypsy is something that I've seen a million times, and I just love that role. I think it's so interesting, and she has such a crazy arc from where she starts the show to where she ends the show, and I think that would be really, really fun to play. And then I would love to do a Shakespeare piece and be in a play. That would be really fun.
So what advice would you like to give to any aspiring young performers out there?
The biggest piece of advice that I could give is that this career is not easy. You get told no more than you get told yes, no matter who you are. And I think the most important thing in those times where you're not working is to continue to create with other performers that inspire you, and also to surround yourself with people who make you feel like a rock star when you're not working and when you are. And so, to me, you're going to come across a lot of people who kind of try to bring you down, and I think it's important to surround yourself with the people that always inspire you to create and bring up your spirits when a callback doesn't go well or a dream role slips through your fingers. Because that happens all the time, and it's nice to be around people who help you not dwell in that part of it and, kind of lift you up. That's what I've learned, and I've found a really wonderful group of people that I can surround myself with that make me feel awesome regardless of whether or not I'm working.
Christine, I thank you very much for devoting your time to this interview, and I hope you have a great time in Durham.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.